So pretty much kind of she's trying to procreate, but she doesn't want to do it with any of the humans.
Okay, cool. And welcome everybody to 2EpicNerds episode 4.
Yes.
Ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah ah. Yeah, it's been quite a trip. Last week was, or the last episode was something special.
It was.
It was.
We will try our best not to do that if possible. If possible. We can't control it, but we'll be mindful of it.
We went on and on and on. If you saw the episode, it was about an hour and 5 minutes, but it was actually about a 4.5 hour conversation. So it's a miracle that we got it whittled down that far. Everybody who's been watching knows the story. We take our three topics and we run with them. We run with them until we get winded and we have to stop running because running's hard. And then we just talk about them.
Exactly.
So today we have three pretty cool topics, and we're going to start out with this one.
Yes, so the first topic is going to be about Invincible. They just wrapped up the first season, I think, a week or two ago, and I've never heard of the series prior to seeing the trailer. I think it was last year's Comic-Con, I think I saw it, and it intrigued me because not only it was just not Marvel and DC like heroes, but it was about a boy coming into his powers and having to find his identity as a hero. And I always love those stories because you never know what type of hero that person's going to be, or if they will even become a hero, so. But for those who don't know, it was a graphic novel beforehand. So if you knew, if you read the graphic novel, you already know what the story was. But for me, someone who's a brand new fan of it, didn't know. And I plan on going back and reading the graphic novels, but I generally enjoyed it. I'm one of those people who like to wait until everything comes out and then I'll just, binge watch it. I think I got up to how many episodes there are? Like 6?
8. I think there
are
eight.
8. Okay, so I think I stopped at episode 6 because I was caught up. So they were still waiting for the other one. So I just waited and I finally finished it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Very graphic, but it's like that's the reality of it. Like if you're that strong and you punch someone, there's no way you're not going to like detach their jaw and that jaw goes that way. Like there's no way Superman can hit any alien or whatever and just not see them get dismembered. So I think that is part of the charm of it because it's like this is like the reality of what in a reality of a world where there are superheroes, and so there's no way that you're not gonna see so much carnage, and people actually dying and just the kind of the struggle you will actually see that you don't really get in these Marvel and DC because they have like that kind of PG 13 plus 17 kind of feel, depending on what hero you're looking at. But I enjoyed it, especially I love the last episode was just it was like everything just wrapped up and everything was explained in the last episode, and I loved it.
Yeah, the last 2 episodes really ramped it up to 11, especially with the graphic stuff. And then the story was great. Okay, so this isn't like, it's kind of like if Quentin Tarantino made a superhero movie. It was really good. I want to get to the end of it because I have an opinion about how the ending went through. But in the beginning, yeah, he was. Well, let's start out by saying that I read the first graphic novel back in 2014, I think it was. So I was aware of the character. And I never saw a trailer and I was not aware that this series was coming out until I saw it on Amazon Prime. And then it was like late one night, I pulled it up and it was like Invincible and it was animated and it looked exactly like the comic book. I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this was a thing that was happening. I'm super psyched, And I think at that time there was like 3 episodes. and I just watched all those and then watched them weekly, and then kind of something happened. So the last 2 episodes I didn't watch until last week. So about a week after the last episode came out. The build up to it, like you said, was about a young teenager who realizes he has powers. He's excited about it. He gets trained by his father, and then through the story, he kind of struggles with the fact that he might not even want to be a superhero. Along with a couple of the other characters, because being a superhero ain't easy in the world of Invincible. There was a lot of death, a lot of surprise twists, a lot of gore, and it was pretty awesome. So we get to the point where I think it was by the second episode, maybe either the end of the first, where you find out that Utopian is not as good as he appears to be.
Yeah, it was like the end of episode 1 was when Omni-Man was like destroying everybody.
Dude, I've been calling them the Utopian, and that's Jupiter's Legacy. I'm sorry.
That's another show I gotta watch that. They look their suits are close, very close, very close.
Yeah, and they're both like aging, kind of like but yeah, my bad. Yeah, so he just shows up, and he this universe's Justice Society or Justice League, the Guardians of the Globe. He just shows up and he ransacks the whole group. Like literally, like you think these are going to be major players, or at least through the show, because they were the superhero team. No, they were finished off at the end of the first episode by Omni-Man. Yeah, took them out in some of the most spectacular ways you could imagine.
My gosh.
Yeah, that was something. And so the rest of the series kind of was like he was trying to hide it. He was trying to put the blame on somebody else. He was hiding it from his family and from his wife until his wife got suspicious and started doing some looking into it, found his suit. So everybody was freaked out because there was a small group of people that knew that Omni-Man was unstoppable. Like, he was the Superman of that universe, and he's also killing people, but they don't know why. So then we get to towards the end of the season. I thought the episode where they were at the college, and then there was that guy who was turning college students into cyborgs was pretty cool.
Yeah. Fun fact: the actor who plays that mad scientist, the thing is Ezra something. He plays the Flash.
Was that who that was?
Yeah, and I think that's what I like about Amazon Prime, because when I was watching it, I like scrolled my mouse over to the screen. I'm like, whoa, you see the actors on the side. That's actually really cool. I'm like, that should be a thing. But I thought it was really cool.
I did that a lot in Jupiter's Legacy too. I was like pushing pause.
Yeah, I get it. I do that too sometimes. Even with The Walking Dead, I'm like, who is this? Oh, okay, cool. They did this.
All right.
What made me really want to watch the show, was curious, was I saw a clip. It was a clip of Omni-Man destroying the Guardians of, what was it? The Guardians of Society, or
Guardians of the Globe.
The Globe. I keep wanting to say the Galaxy, but that's wrong. 100%.
Yeah.
That's what made me want to watch it. I was like, oh, what is this? Omni-Man versus the Guardians of the Globe. And you just see, I didn't realize how gory it was. Like the trailers, you see blood and all. I'm like, okay, that's typical. Like, you wouldn't really show that in the trailer. That's kind of typical. You get hit, you see blood, you see but what made me really just kind of caught my eye was like when I saw that Omni-Man was just destroying everyone, how he did. I was like, and then I realized who did it, and I'm like, well, yeah, this is the guy who was doing The Walking Dead. So The Walking Dead is pretty gruesome. This has to be just all out disgusting how everyone's getting destroyed. Like one of the guys gets their head busted in, and you see everything. What's the dude's Darkwing or something? He slams them. That's a mere human. He slams them. You just see him just explode. And I'm like, what is happening? I was like, okay, I need to find context. So I ended up just watching the first episode, and then from that, I was already gonna watch it, but that just kind of gave me more reason. And from that, my mind was like, okay, why did he do it? Like, I'm still trying to piece things together. And then when you find out that his planet he told one version of it, which is completely false.
That they were all
Where
on peace missions, right?
but the real reason was his planet was like they were struggling, and so they said, okay, we have to just kill everyone who's weak, and so the planet was everyone who's strong and prosperous and all that. And so they said, why don't we just make everyone on our side? So they go and they conquer everything. And he went to Earth and he ended up falling in love and finding someone and having a kid. But then he was like, okay, I'm just going to train my son to fight with me, and everyone else is irrelevant. And you kind of feel for that because it's you kind of feel for the mom where she's like, well, everything was a lie. And you feel for Mark, who is invincible. He's just like, his whole world is just kind of just, the reason of him being a hero wasn't what he thought he was. It was really for world domination, and for him to go after his dad, and into a point where he's like, I can't fight my father, but my father is destroying me. It does tug a little bit on something, because you're just like, well, dang, you want him to fight back, but then you're like, you get it because it's his dad, and he had him on this pedestal, and now it's just like his dad is not who he thought he was. Then of course, right before he's about to finish him, I'm about to finish Mark, he has that flashback of him at being at a baseball game and not really caring about it, and his wife is like, just understand like what it is, and what their son is doing. And then his son got a hit, and you see him cheering his son all the way to the end, and he runs to his dad, says, did you see? He's like, yeah, he did. And that kind of got me. And then you see him kind of struggling to do that last final hit, and then he's like, and then of course the famous meme now with Omni-Man and Invincible doing that whole this thing, and you see Invincible laying there, and you see him take off, and you're like, dang, that was crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
because
and it just leaves you like, okay, it leaves you kind of like at a nice plateau, but then you're like, okay, what's next now? Because
yeah,
his reason for being there is taking over, so he has to come back.
I'm sure he will. That scene that you were talking about, where he was just busting his face open on the side of the mountain. He's like, "Why are you doing this?" Especially when he revealed, he's like, "Did you ever even love mom?" He was like, "I see her as more of a pet." You were like, "Oh," and and what got him after the memory he had is that Mark was able to sputter out, "I still love you, Dad," or something like that along those lines, and that got him. That's what made him be like, okay. He just flew off. He had to think about things and sort it out. Another cool dude that was part. Well, the Mark was played by the guy that played Glenn in The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Steve. Steve Yen,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Cecil was Walter Goggins.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention too. I was gonna mention that a lot of the characters that were voiced, even if they weren't in the entire series or in a couple episodes, a lot of them were in The Walking Dead. Like Lauren Cohan, the actor who does Morgan, I think he played Darkwing. I think that's his name. The actor who played Aaron, he played like 3 characters in the show, and some other ones too. So it was actually interesting to see that.
One of the things that I've heard, that people are saying that it was too much, that it was too gratuitous, especially in the last episode. And
Oh yeah.
To that, I told this person, I was like, I think it was just gratuitous enough, because like we were kind of talking about before, you have to project what exactly it means to be invincible, and
Exactly.
especially the scene towards the end where they're fighting and he holds his head and the subway train is coming.
Oh yeah.
And he holds him. He's helpless to move, and they're both completely invincible. So they let the subway train hit him, and they were it was cutting through them. And in slow mo, you saw like the viscera, people getting sliced in half and crushed by the force of the train getting split in half and cut open, and heads exploding. And you're just like, what?
Because it goes back to what you said. Like, you got to kind of show that, okay, these two beings are like almost indestructible. So how can you project that in their environment? That was the perfect, you see these, like you said, he's holding his head to the train, but you see, and in any other movie or show, you wouldn't see that. You would just see everyone getting knocked around and whatever. But to actually kind of like I said before, like the reality of of superheroes, you see just everyone just getting torn apart and just like in everything. And then you see Mark, then another scene, you see Mark trying to hold the building and save this mom and save the kid. In any other movie, they'd be fine. But they weren't. They
They were
straight up
not.
they straight up died. So but you're right. I think it was enough because it wasn't too much. I mean, they had it here and there. You see him get destroyed, especially when they were going up against what's his name, Beastman, when they went up against
the lion guy with the hammer.
Yeah, like he just decimated everyone. So you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. But I enjoyed it still because it's like it was just something that I don't know, it fit. It just fit for what that was. So I think that's why I enjoyed the series because nothing was too much. Nothing was misplaced in there. The gore wasn't just an additive. It was just like it kind of made you feel like, okay, this is like if it was a reality, what would this look like? And I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it made it, even though it was an animated series, it made it seem more real.
Yeah, exactly.
Made it seem more real.
So I enjoyed it.
Made by Robert Kirkman, the guy who did The Walking Dead, and it actually was released by Image, I believe, too.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. We might want to check that, but I'm pretty sure Image put it out because that's where The Walking Dead is Image, too.
Okay.
He did rewrite some stuff because he felt like he's become a better writer. So it's not exactly like the graphic novel, but I felt like it was pretty damn close.
Oh, I thought, yeah. Like I said, I never read the comics. The first time I heard about it was when was in Comic-Con last year, and I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. So after all this, we get to the end. Omni-Man, gets the feels and he takes off, and we don't know where he is. We know he left the galaxy. Cecil did a lot of stuff. They did a lot of, of course they, helped Mark get better and heal everything, and they're providing for the family because he feels like he let it happen. Cecil was an interesting character. So they wrap it all up with him not wanting to be the new Omni-Man for that organization. And he's like, fine, it's too soon. We'll talk about it later. So he's out with his friends. Cecil calls him. He's like, I know you said you didn't want to do this, but we have something flying in from out of the galaxy towards us. We need somebody to go check it out. So it's Alan the alien, who we did see earlier, and he's voiced by Seth Rogen, and explains to him, he's like, oh, you got a Viltrumite on your planet. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know. He's like, it's me. It was my dad. He took off. He's like, he took off. They never take off. Once they have their sights set on something, they don't give up on it. So they'll be back, and they have kind of a little conversation on the moon. Yeah. And he's like, well, what are you going to do before any of this happens? What are you going to do? And then, so they go to a side flash, not like a back flash, but what's going on with everybody else. So you got the organization, and they're obviously making an army of those cyborg people.
Those undead soldier cyborg things.
Mm-hmm. And there was a few other things going on that was like, was kind of shady, like, oh, this is going on. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts back to Mark, and he's like, graduate high school. And that's where it ends. So it was really entertaining, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It didn't miss a step. There was no filler episodes. Everything was like bop and bop and bop and bop, and that's it made it a great show. I loved pretty much everything about it.
Yeah, for 8 episodes, it wasn't bad. For 8 episodes, it wasn't bad.
That's something cool about series coming out on streaming services instead of TV, because they don't have to satisfy a certain amount of episodes that take up a certain amount of time with commercials. So you have these series coming out where some episodes are 30 minutes, some episodes are 37 minutes, some episodes are 45 minutes. So they don't have to put a lot of extra stuff in there. They can just straight tell the story in so many episodes. They don't have to satisfy, we need 22 episodes of this. It's like, oh, geez, that's a lot. Okay, well, we'll put in a lot of stuff that nobody's going to care about, but they'll watch it anyway. They don't have to do that anymore, which is, super cool to me.
That makes sense.
They did the same thing with Jupiter's Legacy. It was like 8 episodes. Some of them were different amounts of time. Check that out on Netflix, everybody. Kotetsu.
Yes. Probably after this, I'm going to watch it.
Because it was good. Once you get, 2 or 3 episodes in, it's really good. But that is a story for another time.
Yes, it is.
But right now, So Invincible's great. It's on Amazon Prime. Check it out. Check it out.
Yeah.
You don't have any reason not to. You should just
I don't
do
think
it.
so.
Just do it now. I mean, later, but now, soon.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not getting paid for it. We're just telling you out of our own interest. Go watch it.
Yeah, our own fanboyness that
Yes.
everybody needs to go see it or watch it. We want to talk about something that is pretty interesting to me, and I'm sure to Katetsu, but I grew up in a time where couch co-op games, couch challenge games were a necessity because the internet wasn't quite what it is now. So you just everybody couldn't hop on and have high-speed internet and then play with whoever around the world. You had to have that multiplayer couch co-op capability, and we're seeing a little bit of a reemergence in that, right?
Yes, we are.
We got games like It Takes Two, which is both online and split screen couch co-op, which is nice. It's cool. And something you mentioned earlier.
And we have the developer Dotemu.
Oh,
I gotta
Dotemu.
Yeah, Dotemu. Thanks you. I was like, I keep trying to pronounce their company. And Tribute Games, they've been coming out with same couch co-op, old school, modern looking 2D scrolling beat 'em ups like Streets of Rage. And they have the new TMNT Shredder's Revenge coming out as well, which is they're definitely trying to bring that retro 2D beat 'em up style, and you can't have that without having someone next to you doing that, and also the online aspect of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. Couch co-op and split screen stuff makes sense on consoles, but not so much on PC. I don't think. Maybe that's just me and the way that I've always been set up. But to play a split screen game on your PC seems a little weird.
Yeah, I've actually done that. It's super hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard because you have to share the keyboard with someone else.
Yeah, you could either do that or you know what I used to do? Me and my brother when we were kids, when games like Duke Nukem and Doom and Shadow Warrior and stuff like that first came out, and what was that other one? Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah.
We would, of course, we were younger back then, and one person would do the keyboard as far as like moving and turn and stuff like that, and then one person would work the mouse.
Never thought about doing that with somebody.
Yeah, it was different, but it was a way for us both to play and kind of get into it. So, he would use the keyboard to just move the character, and I would be on the mouse, like turning around and shooting at people. So, unconventional, but it counts. It counts.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And so now we're even seeing the release of a game console that is purely zero internet capabilities, no modem. Two unique controllers, but you can have up to 8, and you can use your phone as a controller, and that is the Intellivision Amico.
Yes.
And we have talked about this thing quite a bit.
Yes, we have.
What are your thoughts on the controller?
For someone who was born in the very late 80s, early 90s, and started playing video games during I played video games before, but not to a point where I didn't really comprehend. But for me but I can say I started really comprehending video games and knowing what I was doing when I start in the Super NES era and Sega and that generation where and you always have a controller on hand.
Here you go.
Right here, where it was like this, where you had the comfortable controllers forming your hands and you sit and the rest. But to see something like I've seen those controllers before, and I used to ask myself, I don't know how people were able to play stuff like that. I'd kind of lose it because I wouldn't really understand how. But to see what they're doing with it, and not just saying you have to buy another controller to play with someone else. You can if you want to, but you don't have to now. You can just download our app and you can use their phone to do it. I think it's something that for me, I can see where they're going, but for me to give a full kind of impression on it, I would honestly like to get my hands on it and play something and then say, okay, I see how very reactive this is and and how everything's very no lag on something, and if I move here or move here and stuff like that. I like the design of the controllers. It's very simple. It's not too many buttons, and all of this is very, here's the dial. This is used to do this, and and you can hold it either, holding it, up straight or having it on the side like this. And either way you hold it, it's going to work,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what game you're playing. So I think that's cool. Like I said before, I think that the fact that you can just have your cell phone and play with it your smartphone and play with the games that way is also cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, they're not saying, hey, you got to get another controller. They said you can if you want to, but we're still going to make it accessible to those who don't have
Without
an
being
extra
greedy, I
controller.
think that's
Yeah,
commendable. Without being like, you
yeah.
have to buy another controller. They're like, no, you can get this free app and you can play along.
Yeah, exactly. But like for me, looking at the design aspect, it's very simple, very simple. It's very simple to use, not very complicated for those who don't like the many buttons on on the modern controllers.
Mm-hmm. Because I think now, what average buttons, or at least the max amount of buttons on most console controllers, are about 9, right? I
Yeah,
remember the original Xbox had the black and white buttons. So you had the 4
yeah,
regular buttons, your black and white buttons, and then your shoulder buttons 1 and 2 on both sides.
exactly.
So yeah, for about 9. I was born when the Atari 2600 was a thing, but I didn't know what I was doing until NES. That was really where I started, like, oh, this is how video games work. But I was like a wee bit, because it wasn't mine. Obviously, it was my parents. So they started video gaming. So in a way, even though I was born kind of early into the video game craze, it was because of my parents I got into video games, because I was able to, as basically a toddler, take the joystick for the 2600, which is only one stick and one button, and,
Yeah,
kind of just toy around with it. I don't know how many of the things I probably broke, because I was basically a baby and probably slapping the thing around like a rattle. But
right.
I remember a lot of that. So, this coming back. And by the way, the controller, it has like 2 buttons on the side. It has a touch screen, reactive screen on it.
Yeah.
And it, just like in Intellivision fashion, the Intellivision back in 79 or whenever it came out, 79, 80, had that weird controller where it looked like a TV remote, and it had the disc instead of a directional pad or a stick. It had the disc, okay, and then the buttons, which looked like you were trying to make a phone call.
Yeah, yeah,
Which I never got that. It wasn't until recently I realized that there were these little slide-in cards you were supposed to get in for them, but I didn't know that because we never had one. Like my neighbor had one, and so I saw it, I knew what it was about. I played a couple games, nothing really stuck out to me, because I think the only game that my neighbor had was Vampire, I think it was called. I think they're coming out with it, but it was a text-based game, way back in the mid 80s or whatever. I was like, what is this garbage? You gotta read it, and it was all in like that dot matrix text, and you're like, oh, this hurts my eyes. But they still had the disc, okay, and Intellivision hasn't given up on the disc, because that's what this new controller has. I'm sure it's more responsive, and I'm sure because we've talked to Tommy before on Gamers Realm, and he says it clicks, so I'm sure it's more responsive and more directional savvy than the old one was. But that thing sucked. Because I just remember, like, you didn't know where you were going. You didn't know, what was going to happen when you kind of push diagonal. Was it going to go left? Was it going to go up? Because the technology just wasn't there yet. It was probably a good idea, and may still be, because it does give you that omnidirectional feel.
Yeah.
Like you could go anywhere. And I'm hoping that's what they bring to the 21st century, is a more responsive, especially with their games. Because with games in the 70s and 80s, you had up, down, left, right. Going diagonal was kind of a stretch. It really, but it's cool, the games that they're bringing back for it, because even though we're getting a new game, like we're getting a new Earthworm Jim game,
Yeah.
and probably a couple other original titles, a lot of the library are remastered classics from back in the day. Astro Smash, Shark, Combat, and then their whole bucket of sports games, baseball,
Yeah.
skiing, stuff like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. Oh, and also you charge the controllers. The controllers are obviously wireless, like everything is. The old one wasn't, but these are, and they recharge by setting them on the ports that are built in on top of the console. And that's
right.
a super cool idea. So, they've said before that they're not trying to compete with the big three, which is probably a good idea. I hope that doesn't hurt the success up or down. But,
Yeah.
They got their own thing going on, and it's going to be cheaper than the rest. I think it's going to retail at what, $250?
Yeah, I looked at about said $2.99
Oh,
what I saw.
Oh, okay.
That's like GameStop though. So it's like GameStop.
Oh,
Like
okay.
$2.99 at GameStop.
Maybe the $249.99 is like the pre-purchase price.
Yeah, I think. Oh, this is a limited edition, so maybe this is the only one that's going to cost $2.99, and the others are probably going to be a lot cheaper than this one.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I think the cool wood grain one, which was totally the one I would go with, I think that was like a founder's edition, and I think it's sold out. So I was kind of bummed about that.
Yeah. So okay. So I was right. So it wasn't limited edition. That's going to be $2.99. The retail, regular retail is $2.49.
Okay, cool. And plus they're not making you buy a separate thing to charge controllers. It comes packed in with two controllers. Like we said, you could use your phone, which I would pretty much imagine that somebody who actually has a controller compared to somebody who's using their phone, the people with the controller have an advantage.
Yeah.
Because you got those two side buttons, and if they're going to make them virtual on the screen, that's just not going to. It's not going to.
That's going to be hard. It's not going to translate well.
No, it's not. But the option's there. Yeah. So and all their games are family friendly, definitely, and multiplayer. There's no one player. I don't know what they're going to do with Earthworm Jim. If they're going to make that multiplayer, if that's just kind of a special thing that they have the ability to create, which I would love to see a new Earthworm Jim game.
Same.
What's it gonna look like on the Amico? Mm-hmm. But it's amazing because I've talked to a couple people, a few people about it, and they had no idea this thing existed or that it's going to exist in the future whenever it decides to come out. I think it's soon, right?
Yeah, October. I think I saw October 10th. October 10th or 11th. October 10th. Mm-hmm,
October 10th. So it'll just be really cool, with the new technology that they're kind of bringing to the table from a concept from the past to make this system, and to be able to have something that you could just sit down. I'm not sure how you get the games. There has to have some sort of.
They said it's all you can download everything. Like they said that they have a marketplace that you can download everything. Nothing will be more than 20, maybe $30, but everything's gonna be reasonable. Mm-hmm. All their games are gonna be at a reasonable price. I think they said there's gonna be nothing more than like $20 a game, which is actually pretty nice.
And I think it even goes down as low as like $3-4.
Yeah.
So I guess it does have to have some sort of online capability to be able to do that. Yeah. He did say something.
The marketplace, most likely.
Yeah, and he did say something about there was going to be hard copies available. But looking at the thing, I wouldn't even know where to stick it.
Yeah, but you know what? We are going to be getting more information on that very soon. About more on the Amico very soon. So
yeah, definitely. So we will see if we can't keep you posted. Between now and October.
Yeah,
because I think this thing needs to be known. Known about. It doesn't have a huge budget for advertising. They have some things in some GameStops, but if you're like me, I haven't been to a GameStop in like 3 years, so I wouldn't even know from that. But we have outlets that we've gone through and just we've stumbled upon it basically and was like, oh, okay, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Through Gamers Realm and stuff like that. So yeah, October 10th. Right? Is that what you said? 10-10, 10-10-21. The Amico, but it's coming back, and I'm super excited. For the most part, I'm kind of with you, Katetsu. Outside of my family that I live with, there's really nobody else that I know that plays video games. At this point.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit excited about it, but then again, I don't have like a whole legion of people coming over being like, yeah, let's play some Shark.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the return of couch co-op. I keep saying couch co-op, but couch co-op slash competitive challenge games. We know what we mean, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean. All right, and our final topic of the day is
The Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage,
Let There Be
which is,
Carnage. Yes.
I don't remember what the release date was. I don't remember the
Mm,
release date, but
I
they
don't
did drop
either.
a trailer as I am researching it. They did drop a trailer, I think 6 days ago. So I believe, yeah, so Monday, I think they dropped a trailer for it. Now, I voiced this before. I wasn't a big fan of the first movie. I didn't, when I first heard it, I was like, no, that can't be. And then seeing it and then waiting for it to come out, and I actually saw it. I took it for what it was, but it's hard to, if you're a fan of the Spideyverse, it's really hard to criticize something like that because Venom is one of Spider-Man's greatest villains because he is the person who challenges him the most in every aspect. I feel that way. There's many other characters, but I feel Venom has been that challenge for Spider-Man. He's never, besides the video games, in film, it's never been portrayed that way. And the movie I'm talking about, Spider-Man 3, where Venom came out the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like there wasn't really that relationship between Peter Parker and Eddie Brock as Spider-Man and Venom. There really wasn't. It was really rushed. And Venom is a core character himself that doesn't just become an anti-hero. He goes through something with Spider-Man before he becomes an anti-hero. So seeing Venom 2, the trailer for Venom 2, and watching it after going through and watching Venom the first movie, it feels like they're trying to make it, and I just came up with this now, make it like a buddy comedy where
Mm-hmm.
it's Venom and Eddie Brock. Because you
Yeah.
see the first sequence, Venom is trying to make this crappy breakfast and he's singing, I forgot the song, I know the song, but I forgot it, the name of it. And
Oh.
you see them have like this witty banter
Yeah.
through it. And it's like, okay, they changed the voice actor of Venom and you see them kind of going in another direction. But, the movie, the character we really want to see is Carnage, which is played by Woody. I
Woody
forgot. I don't know.
Harrelson. Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, which is
Yeah.
really cool. I'm a fan of him. Awaken is a fan of the actor, so it's
Huge.
gonna be cool.
Huge. He makes everything he's in seem better.
What was it, Zombieland and Zombieland 2? I just
Mm-hmm.
love his wit. I love his wit.
Yeah. Yeah. Natural Born Killers, Seven Psychos, I believe it was called.
Yeah.
And a ton more that he just appeared in. And it just, even if he's just doing some sort of smaller role, he's not the star, but he's doing a cameo. When you see him pop up, it's like, oh, yeah.
Well, didn't he pop in Hunger Games? Didn't he pop into Hunger
Mm-hmm.
Games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in there.
hmm but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not gonna see it in theaters, of course not. I don't want to waste my money on that and be disappointed.
Mm.
I would rather wait until it's on HBO or somewhere, HBO Max or somewhere, so I can watch it and then give my opinion on it. But I'll give it a shot. I'll give
So,
it a shot.
is this movie still under the Fox Pictures banner?
hmm Yes, it is. Because if you watch it, you'll see it says associated with Marvel instead of just Marvel. It
Mm-hmm.
says Fox and associated with Marvel. So it's like Fox has the character, but the character is still Marvel. So Marvel let them have it, but Fox doesn't 100% claim it and it's not
Right.
like Marvel and Disney. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like
Like they,
Spider-Man comes out or Avengers and it says what, like Sony associated with it's straight up Marvel Studios.
yeah, like they've done for years previous to the MCU, because they
Yeah.
they had Fox had some properties, and then Sony had, of course,
Sony.
Spider-Man and all the Spider-Man related characters,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were trying to rectify that, but Sony's too big. They're like, we make too much money out of these movies for us just to give it back to you. We have a contract.
Yeah.
They worked out some kind of a deal. That's why we're getting these sweet, sweet Spider-Man movies now. But my understanding was that they bought Fox's Pictures division like a year ago. I mean, maybe not quite. 2020 never happened.
Something.
Yeah, they did. That's why they're bringing in the X-Men to the MCU, because they were also part of the Fox Picture Studio thing.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the last long episode. We did. I think
Yeah, I'm
somewhere
sure we
in
did.
there, I think we talked about that.
So I don't know if that was too far in production or something like that, because they also got Deadpool. Deadpool was also part of Fox, and then they have the rights to him, because they just straight up, they didn't buy like the TV network and I guess the news network or whatever, but they did buy their picture division. So Disney's become such a juggernaut that if they can't acquire it and it's reasonable, they will freaking buy you. They will, unless
because they said now. Well, I don't know if not going too off topic, but I thought they said with Deadpool they're going to like. I thought they heard, hey, it's PG-13, and they said no, but they're doing rated R. And I heard they're gonna try to do some rated R stuff with Deadpool. That's what I've been hearing.
I did hear that. Somebody was, because people are worried about it, and I don't know if it was straight from, I think it was Kevin Feige. He was like, yeah, Deadpool's still going to be rated R, but we'll see how that goes, because Kevin Feige's one thing, but then you have what's her face, the CEO of Disney Entertainment. What's her name?
I don't know.
She's, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You have those people. You have the Disney suits. It's like, oh, this is Disney, but Disney has made some rated R movies, but it was just under another banner. It was something else, but it was still Disney. It didn't have Disney anywhere on it, but it was still a company that was Disney.
They were like probably somewhere small, somewhere at the bottom of their credits where people don't watch credits.
Yeah.
So they probably had their name somewhere on there.
Yeah, and fans of the Deadpool movie series so far would probably revolt against a PG-13 Deadpool movie, because it's done so well in that R-rated category. And well deserved. You can't have a character like Deadpool. He's not PG. He's not PG-13. He's definitely a rated R character. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's Deadpool. But we're talking about Venom, which should also be rated R. It would make a better movie if it was rated R. But they're still going with the PG-13.
Yeah, I can see that with the whole eating people and stuff like that. I can see that.
We're seeing Scream again, like you mentioned. I didn't know who she was, obviously, in the trailer until you brought it up. So.
I remember the first time I saw her, it was either in the animated series, and she scared the crap out of me. Of course, there's Venom. When you see Scream, it's like it's this symbiotic thing that's yellow and red that has long hair who just screams at you. And then I remember going to Florida and going to the Island Adventure at Universal Florida. They have they have like in all Florida theme parks have like some extra that we don't have in Cali. So they have Island Adventure, which gives us more like superhero stuff. It was like all Marvel stuff there. Most Marvel stuff there. Like they had the Hulk. I think the two Marvel stuff, they had the Hulk and Spider-Man. Those are the only two Marvel rides I knew that were there. And she's on the Spider-Man ride, and it's like all in 3D. And so there's a scene where she runs up and jumps at you and claws at you. And I was like, you were already scary enough watching it at home. Now I have to see you jumping in my face while I'm on vacation, enjoying this ride. So, but yeah, I'm actually excited to see her you see her symbiote in the first movie, but now you see her host in this one. So it's actually gonna be really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want to go back to the Spider-Man 3 that you were talking about. The Sam Raimi movies. First of all, I think that the 3-movie story arc should have been Venom instead of the Hobgoblin. They carried that because 3 had too many villains in it in the first place. But they had to throw the Hobgoblin in there again. Because he's been in the background. Of course, he was the Goblin's son, played by James Franco. And then he was in the second one. He wasn't the main villain, but Doc Ock was, but he was still there. And then in the third one, he was thrown in the mix in a movie that already had too many villains in the first place. Was it 3? It was 3.
Yeah, it was Sandman, Flint Marco as Sandman, and of course Venom, the black suit, and Eddie Brock, and then the Hobgoblin. And I feel like the Hobgoblin didn't get his justice because he's way more crazier than he appeared in the movie. They made him very mellow, Harry, very mellow and very maniacal in some sense. Like he's very strategic, but he's pretty insane in in his lineage. He's pretty insane, and I feel like we got that from the Green Goblin, which was cool by William. I forgot his last
William
name.
Dafoe.
Yeah, William Dafoe. We got that. He did it pretty well, but we didn't get that from Harry, and that's what I was really expecting. I was really kind of expecting that kind of more insane version of Green Goblin, but we didn't get that. We got him more mellow and weirdly playboy kind of feeling from the
Yeah. And
from him.
still torn between, being Peter's friend and
Yeah,
being the Hobgoblin.
yeah,
It just they
yeah.
could have left that out altogether. And like you said, with the relationship between Peter Parker and Eddie Brock, we didn't get a build up to that. It was just Topher
No.
Grace walking around being kind of a smarmy butthole to Peter because they were
Yeah.
competing in the the photojournalist realm. And
Mhm.
then while he was trying to get pictures, just happened to be, in the way and got the symbiote dropped on him when he was up in the bell tower. And, oh, there's Venom for the last 15 minutes of the movie, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and
was.
it didn't look right because and they got it. I'll give them this. How Venom looks in the movies is very accurate. It's very. I felt like what they did in 3 was like it was a Spider-Man, but a symbiotic Spider-Man. If that what they did with Venom and with Eddie Brock.
If you go back far enough, it depends on who's drawing him. It was I can't remember who it was. It might be Mark Silvestri, I think his name was the first person to draw him like super buff and muscular. But
Mhm.
there was a time, and I have an action figure from that era in the late 90s or so. No, not late 90s. It was the early 90s. He was very much Spider-Man esque with a big gaping mouth and a tongue.
I've always seen the huge Hulk version of from the animated series, and that's how I saw him as, and I
Mm.
always kind of looked at him like that, and I thought it was really cool. And then in the third movie, it felt like it wasn't Venom. It felt like it was just Eddie Brock, but more expressive because the black suit allowed him, like just how Peter Parker's, when he got the suit, he was more expressive on one side of him but which
Yeah.
was
It's so
ridiculous,
cheesy. So cheesy. I'm
ridiculous.
totally going to put up a gif of the dance he does when he's like kind of goth Peter, and he's like,
Yeah,
doing the
everyone was
dance.
like, "That's emo." Everyone was like, "That's emo Peter," and I'm like, "That's so true." They made him look like that.
And Tobey
But with
Maguire just did not pull it off very well.
no, he
Yeah.
didn't. Tobey Maguire is not a smug actor. I don't think he can really play that. He has other roles, but I think that smug arrogance, I couldn't see it either. But with Eddie, when the symbiote went on Eddie, it wasn't like it was Venom. It was Eddie Brock, but more expressive to how he actually felt about. Because you didn't see Venom talking; it was Eddie talking.
Right. You
But then
never.
Peter was like, "Yeah," but Peter was like, "No, that's not. This isn't you." And it's like, well, technically it is, but it's just him more expressive than he was before.
Yeah, they never had Venom or even the black suit when Peter had it. They never in that movie they never had it talk to him, did they? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
no. In a small sections, you kind of see him talking, but it's not like I said, it's not Venom. It's like it's just a suit, and then it's like when he first met Flint Mark, when Eddie Brock met Flint Marco, you see him crawling on the wall and you see him talking, but then of course they showed Eddie's face, and I was just like, well, that's not really how it goes. It's like Venom is the dominant force of that entire relationship.
Yeah, Eddie always had to fight to get any kind of control. He had to
Yeah.
really like work hard to get his face to come out and be like, and
Yeah,
say his piece.
and that's what kind of makes me laugh with this Venom movie because it's like it's never been that tight knit relationship. It was always yes, Eddie didn't like Peter, but he didn't ever want to like feel like he had to kill him. It was more of like that predominant thing where Venom's like, oh, you don't like this person. Well, I don't like him either. And then they realize, oh, this is Spider-Man. Okay, cool. We don't like Spider-Man because we don't like Peter Parker. And then it turned into Venom wanting to kill Spider-Man, but it was never of Eddie's intention because Eddie never wanted to do this in the first. He just got pulled into something and he has no control over it. So it makes me that's why I said it's funny because in the movies they have like this agreement all of a sudden, where Eddie's like, well, I don't want to do this, and Venom's like, fine, and you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like that doesn't happen yet.
Yeah. I could eat
So,
Mrs. Chang right now.
yeah, and then like that, like if he wanted to, Venom would just like, screw you, I'm gonna do it. But
Mhm.
the fact that Eddie already is like, no, I don't want you to do it. It's like that's way too soon. And that's why I say it's hard for me being a fan of the Spideyverse and knowing who Venom really is to watch that and not in the back of my head say, okay, that does happen, but not until like way later, until Venom and Eddie are just like, let's just stop trying to fight. Let's try to do this and see how it works.
Do you think it would have been better if instead they had like this kind of weird origin story in the first one? If they would just started it off as him already being Venom and the symbiote with Eddie Brock, so they could leave the backstory kind of a mystery in case they wanted to go into flashbacks or make a movie that did include Spider-Man?
I think so because then that leaves it could be 100% canon.
Yeah.
Because for people who are like, oh, what Venom and then you have us who's like, no, this happens first, and the fact that the movie explains that this happens first, and this is why they're on this road to become this, then everything can. Then it would, and you know what? Then it could probably be canon in MCU because if they didn't do Venom right away, if like let's just say Spider-Man Far From Home includes Venom, right? And it's the not Tom Holland, Tom
Hardy.
is that he's Eddie Brock and he's Venom, and they don't have to go into like 100 battles. They can probably do like 2 movies of just Venom, right? And then at the end of that movie, you kind of just see something happen where at the end of the one of the movies with Spider-Man with Venom, they can kind of say there's towards the end there's like, let's help Spider-Man with this, and they help him and whatever, and then there's like, okay, let's make an agreement, let's try not to do this, and then Venom's like, okay, and then that sets them up for Venom, and then that movie can play out, and then this second movie can play out. So it could be canon if they would have done it that way. It could probably be MCU. It could be canon for MCU.
Yeah, because they could have gone back and easily, retconned, whatever they needed to put in, to put Spider-Man, which is the big complaint about it. Which I guess Spider-Man can't be involved right now because he's in this kind of Marvel Sony limbo.
Yeah.
But they're both owned basically by the same company. They could have done that, at a different place and a different time. Hopefully we'll see it. We'll see it done better. But yeah, at one point, Venom in his early days was very Carnage looking without the tentacles. He was more slender yet muscular with the gaping maw, which was.
I have to see that because I've always seen Venom as like this. Because like I said, I started watching Spider-Man during the animated series. That's when I got into Spider-Man, and then it just mutated into my love for Spider-Man. He's like one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Yeah.
And seeing Venom in the animated series was just like, oh, okay, that's how Venom is. And
Yeah.
then they made him a little bit more bulkier in the Ultimate series, which was like, oh, okay. So he's like the freaking Hulk. And I mean, of course, he has his own comic book, but I feel like that didn't happen until after his encounters with, oh, okay, yeah, 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 that's right. He does have that. It's not like 100% muscular, but he's not as slender as Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
but he is bigger, like by
Right.
by definition. I see it. Yeah,
Because
that is right. That is
Eddie
right.
Brock is bigger, in general. So they
Yeah,
kind of drew him close to that. But somebody one day drew him all big and hulking and muscular, and everybody went crazy for it, and that's what he's been
make you
ever
look cool
since.
that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like that's how I've always seen him. I forgot he did have that slender look, and it does look cool. But I think Venom has such a good lineage that I feel like skipping his true origin kind of leaves out, kind of takes away why he became you know what I'm saying, the
Mm-hmm.
anti-hero that he's trying to be
Yeah.
in this in movie, because you know, like there's a reason why, you know, he became that, you know, and to leave that out is it kind of doesn't you know, it's like I said, it's a huge turning point for Venom.
So we got Venom. Oh, September 24th, I believe.
Okay.
Let me
What's the
double check
release
that now.
date?
Yeah, September 24th of this year, which
Okay.
isn't too far away.
Yeah.
Isn't too
Yeah,
far away.
I'll like I said, I'll wait until it like lands on something, and then I'll probably check it out then.
Yeah, I probably will too. Unless they throw it on something that's not, because if they show it on HBO, which is a possibility, I guess, since it's not particularly a Disney thing yet, um, you know, maybe they might show it. Probably not. They would have already brought it up by now.
Yeah.
But September 24th, we have that to look forward to with Woody Harrelson, and I always love anything Woody Harrelson's in. I'm sorry. I guess I'm a Woody Harrelson fanboy or whatever, but he just has
No,
this
it's
kind of
all
like,
good.
especially coming from the South, he has this like Southern
Mhm.
drawl, and he's always just these, cool characters and a great actor,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what's there not to
Exactly.
like? He could play anything.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, Venom, September 24th. I'm definitely going to check it out eventually. And like we both said, we're more fans of the comic book Venom than the movie Venom because it's a little flaky. But I enjoyed the first movie enough. If I remove myself, from caring about what the source material is and just enjoy the movie, I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think I
Yeah.
brought this up before because Fox made this movie previous to Venom called Life that had Ryan Reynolds and
You did. You did. Oh,
Ryan
I looked
Reynolds
it up
and
too.
Jake Gyllenhaal. And
Yeah, and you said that there might be some correlation between the two.
because it was called Life, they were dealing with a symbiote-like life form that would possess people, and they were all trapped in a ship in space. And the thing that really got me on this is that when the ship that they were tending to that had crashed, that was from the organization of the bad guy in the movie, was called Life. Like the organization was called Life. How could the two not be related? Because they were both like
I get
Fox
that.
movies, but they just never specifically said this is the beginning of Venom.
Yeah.
I would like to look into that and see if there's some kind of on purpose incognito correlation between the two movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll definitely be watching that at some point, and Katetsu would too. And that is our last topic of the day. Unless Katetsu has anything he wants to add to.
Nope. That is it for
Nope,
me.
me neither. I am absolutely fine with the way everything has gone today
Yep.
in this show.
We had no internet problems, so I don't have to do another short about that. Thank God.
We will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Number 4. See you in number 5. Take care.
Later.